Okay, good morning, everybody. How are we all? Are we all good? Yes, good. Okay, now before it becomes bad, I love to get a selfie with you all, and I do like you all to wave, okay? You have to. Well, you don't have to, but I would really appreciate if you waved. And I'm going to try and get you all in. So we're going to do that now, before you're all like, oh my God, I'm out of here. Okay, so this is just like, you came, it's fine. All right, so I'm going to see if I can get all of you in. Oh, it helps if I turn the camera around, doesn't it? Lovely black screen. Okay, all right. We've got all of everyone. I'm going to do it at an angle, so I'm going to count you in. Good. All right, 3, 2, 1. Yay, all right, I need a bit more of you lot over here, this lot. Are you ready? 3, 2, 1. Okay, all right, yay, we're friends now. Alrighty, so my name's Layla, and this is ASP.NET Basics for Experts. So you're all experts now because you're here. And I'll tell you a little bit about why I did this talk in a moment, but I am a developer advocate at VMware, yes. VMware does do a little bit of .NET, .NET, a teeny weeny little tiny weeny bit, and I'm in it. So I'm also a 5 times MVP, a GitHub star, a Progress Ninja, and I founded the Women of .NET initiative, so if you want to know anything about that, you can find me around and have a chat, and I used to sit on the .NET Foundation as well. Now, there are no slides in this talk. Everything is on my GitHub, and I am Layla-P on GitHub, and everywhere else, I'm Layla Codes It, okay, just to confuse you. But we all create our GitHub first, don't we, well before anything else. So you can find me. I'm building up a lot of YouTube stuff, so you can come and watch my very crazy YouTube videos. But enough of all of that. What are we going to talk about today? Well, what am I going to talk about and you're going to listen to? So we're going to look at some of the basic foundational stuff of your ASP.NET applications. The things that you may forget, the things that you may just gloss over, things that if you've come from an older version of .NET that you may not be so familiar with. So things, we're going to look at top-level statements, minimal hosting model, global using directives, dependency injection, minimal APIs. We're going to touch on all of this, okay? HTTP clients and client factories, a little bit of resiliency, and then we'll see what else we have time for, but I'm usually packed in by that time. So why did I do this talk? Well, way back when .NET 6 came out, I did a .NET New and was horrified, absolutely horrified with what came up in the template. What is this? Where's my startup? What is all of this? I was just like, oh my God, I can't deal. So if we go back to .NET 5, what we got was a program, and our program looked like that. How is it at the back, the size of that? Is it okay? We did check earlier, but I just want to do another check. Good? Thank you. All right, so I will zoom in and out. This is what we had. And let me just be clear, you can still have this, all right? It's fine. And a lot of you may wish to have this for various reasons. But this is what we had. And then we had this startup file. And I was very attached to my startup file. And this is where I'd register everything and do all my magic and, you know, make my app how I wanted it. And then .NET 6 came out. And I was like, oh, what on earth is this? So if I go this way, it is here. I changed it because my rider instance crashed. We had something that looked like this. Now, this one is populated, but if we go through and look, this is just a program. I was like, where is my startup file? What is all this scripty, very like JavaScripty type looking file? I was not happy. So I went through all of these ways to .NET New the old way. Okay, so I would do a .NET New web API, use .NET 5, and then I would manually go up and update it to .NET 6 just to get the template that I liked, like the startup and everything. And I was really like anti this newfangled way of doing things. I don't know why. I'm normally quite open-minded. I've actually got a video on my whole thought about this because I felt so strongly about it. But then I started to think about why we moved over to this model. And as I say, you can still have the other hosting model as well. This .NET 5, I'm going to flip a lot that way, the .NET 5 version, where you have your startup as well. And if you're registering a lot of middleware, sometimes that may be preferable. But I'm going to be talking about this minimal one today. No, not that. That's the one I wanted to show you a minute ago. Let's go over. So we're going to be talking about this, which is the minimal hosting pattern. And we also have this top-level statement. So what's happened? Why don't we have the program and the main and everything now? Well, this is all static now. We've got rid of all that ceremony. And I started to think, well, actually getting rid of some ceremony might be quite good. I love bringing new people into the .NET ecosystem. So making it easier for them and less ceremony, less files, actually seemed like a good thing. So I started to come around to the idea of this. And then I've done a lot of Node development, and I've used Express.js. And I thought, well, actually, this is quite similar. I'm actually going to lose my kimono, because it's getting quite toasty in here with all our hot bodies releasing heat. And I thought, well, this is quite familiar. So if we've got people coming over from the Node and JavaScript world, this is going to be more familiar for them. And I was like, okay, I could probably get behind this. And then I really started to get behind this and started to think, how can I make this work for me? Because one of the things I didn't like was it's all in one file now. Everything is dumped into this file. And if you've got big applications, this is going to get quite messy. And you're going to have really big files and all your dependencies listed there, all your minimal APIs. So I started to look at how to architect the application in such a way that it made sense and was easy to find things. So I'm going to share some of those things with you today. It's not rocket science. It's just a nice way of doing things, and you can have a go at doing them in a similar way or find your own ways, but I'm going to share these with you. All right, so let's go and explore what a .NET 6 or 7 and soon to be .NET 8 application is. Now, if you are interested in .NET 8 stuff, I don't like to be on the bleeding edge. I just about float on the cutting edge, so I won't even play with .NET 8 until it's in an RC. I know what's coming, and I'll point out a few things that might be of interest to you, but you won't see any .NET 8 stuff today because I like to wait. I like to wait till it's settled. Otherwise, that stuff might be pulled out or changed. Excuse me. All right, so let's come in and have a look here. We have this web application builder, and this is what we're going to add all of our middleware and things like that to. So this is going to replace what we had in our startup file. So that's going to replace our configure services stuff. So we can start playing around. Now, when you do a .NET New, you're not going to have this builder.configuration. You add that later. And the order in which you add things to your configuration matters. We have it's going to go down in that order. So anything that comes after something before is going to overwrite it. And I'm going to show you that in a moment. So this is why we can have our JSON file, our local development stuff first. And then we can have our environment variables, and then our user secrets if you're using them in development, and then your command line arguments. So it's going to go in that order. Now, we can bring in any type of file to this. So if you're using external configuration, maybe you've got lots of instances, or you want to share your configuration across some files, you can do that here. You can add that in. So what I'm going to do first is just show you that the order matters and how that comes out. So I'm just going to grab a value from our configuration. And there's lots of ways that you can use the options pattern, if you've heard of the options pattern. It came out in 2018, I want to say. No, it came out before that. It came out with .NET 1 when it came out. So the options pattern is a really nice way of managing your configuration. And if you want to know more about that, I have a video all on that. But basically, you can bind your configuration to it and add it to your IOC, your inversion of control container, and inject it anywhere. And there's lots of things that you can do with it. There's different interfaces to use, whether you want it as a singleton, if you want it updatable, if you're live updating your configuration. So you can bind all of your configuration to that object as well. But let's just start by putting a breakpoint in here. I'm going to just uncomment this one. Oops. Let's go and have a look. So what we expect now are, if I go show you what that external one is, it's external value. Come back, I want to be over here. External, and then in my app settings, we can come down here, and you'll see I've just got app settings there. All right. So when we come to here, if I F10 over that, we should see it's app settings if you can't see that. So that's coming from my app settings. And then if we stop that, and I just swap those around, and this, it seems really obvious, but these are the types of things that you can't always see when you're developing. You'll be like, oh my goodness, why am I not getting that? And it's about order. And we're going to look at some other things that depend on order also. So if we come over and I hover over that, you can see we've got external. So definitely the order matters. And that's a way that you can, I've just shown you how to use external configuration now. And if you were to bind that in the options pattern, so if we did builder dot services dot add option, and I'd need a model there, but we wrapped it like this, just as a bit of a pseudocode. We could bring that in and bind that external value to a strongly typed model. And then we could also do some validation on it. We could do to make sure, is it a string or should it be an integer and things like that. So we get a lot of niceties coming through when we use the options pattern. And why have I got that? There we go. I am a bit handicapped. I've got a sore thumb, so my typing is going to be a little bit extra. And that should be builder.configuration there, builder.configuration. .get value, you get the idea, okay? And then we can start to inject that. Now, if you were doing, like updating your configuration live, you would use iOptions monitor or iOptions snapshot. So you may not know about those. You may have just seen like iOptions of type, whatever your type is, and injecting that into your constructor or into your service of whatever. But if you then go and use iOptions monitor, that's going to be updated, and that's a good one to use because it's a singleton, so you can put it into any lifecycle. If you use iOptions snapshot, that's going to be scoped, so you can't inject that into a singleton. So just make sure you're using the correct one, but that's going to give you live updating to your configuration if you're using external configuration. So that's a quick look at that. Oh, that was really loud. I apologize. Wow. I should have had a glass, and then you could have heard me slurping that rather than... But anyway. Okay, so let me just minimize this bottom screen here, and let's get this out of the way. And we're going to start having a little bit more of an explore. All right, so we've got things like our controllers, and I've got Swagger in here so I can show you stuff. So that's what this is, the Endpoints Explorer and Swagger. And then down here, we're just saying if they're in development, we're going to use those. So they won't be available if this was in production. And then a few other things down here. And then we come down to the minimal APIs. Now, this is what really looks like Express.js. And you can use them in conjunction with controllers. You see, I've got controllers mapped here, so you can do both. You can do either or. It's very flexible. You've got to think about the reasons why you might want a controller over an API, a minimal API. There are whole talks on minimal APIs, but it really just depends on, like if you were injecting a lot of things, you were going to use a lot of services in your API endpoints, and you're going to repeat that. It may be better to do those all in a controller, and then you can inject them all into your constructor and do it all like that. It really depends. But let's have a little quick look down here. Now, there's a lot of things I don't like about this particular implementation of the API, and it comes with this stuff here. So we're going to rectify that, and because we're going to add all of that to our dependency injection IOC container, okay? So just a quick look, this is a get endpoint. This is what's called pattern. You can see Ryder's telling me what that is. So this will be on the endpoint get waffle toppings. All of my demos are always food related. I love food. So there we go. And then what else we have in here is an expression. So I have this async expression here, and then I can go and do whatever I need to do. Now, at the moment, I'm creating an HTTP client. I'm not disposing of it. It's not looking very good, so boo hiss at that way I've done my HTTP client here. This is a very wrong way to use an HTTP client. Now, you may be going, oh, why is that? Well, HTTP client is a wrapper for HTTP message handler, and it's actually designed just to be used once, okay? To be instantiated once, rather. So in this one, it's going to be instantiated and not disposed every time this endpoint is called, which is terrible. That could lead to socket exhaustion and all sorts of horrific stuff. So even if you wrap that in a using, it will dispose of the object, but the connection might not be severed immediately, okay, your WebSocket connection. So you can then, if you had a high volume, come to socket exhaustion. So I'm going to show you in a minute what we can do to make that better. There's quite a few things that we can do. All right, so what do I actually need in here? Well, I need this waffle creation service. And just because this is a minimal API doesn't mean I can't use dependency injection. So I'm going to say from services, I've got this little annotation here. And then I'm going to say I would really like an instance of waffle creation service injected. I've not done this, have I? No. What was that? Wowzers, okay, that was like, your code has failed. That's still to come, it's inevitable. So we have our waffle creation service, WCS, so we've now got that available. So I'm actually just going to get rid of all of this. Okay, so that's looking better. We're going to inject that instead, and then we'll manage those dependencies elsewhere. Okay, so that now is kind of more normal, but if I ran this now, it's going to be, wait, we don't have a waffle creation service to give this API. So let's go and fix that first. Now, you can get this code, as I said, on here. So I put lots of notes in here. And we're going to start adding our dependencies. So what we need first is builder.services, because we're adding it to our iService collection. And then we have our different life cycles. I've got a demo for life cycles, which I'll show you if we have time. So I'm actually going to say add singleton. We have singleton, transient, and scoped. Singleton will be there, created once. Scoped will be created for the life cycle of our request. And then transient is every time it's asked for, okay? And I can demo that for you as well if we have time. All right, so this was the waffle creation service, wasn't it, that we had? Is it going to ask me for some stuff? No, there we go. Okay, but that also had a dependency on the ingredient service, so let's go and add that. Builder.services .add, and then we can have waffle ingredient service. Yes, okay. Now, this one was also had an interface implementation, so we can go iWaffle creation service, and we can implement this waffle creation service like so. And then I would need to come down here and change this one to be, rather than that, I'd need to request an instance or an implementation of iWaffle creation. So we can use our interfaces like so, just the same as you would in anything else that you've got your dependency injection. And a note here, if you add multiple implementations, it's going to take the last one as your default. Okay, so if I added another one after here, I have another waffle creation service, then that would be the one that would be passed to our minimal API, unless I asked for an IEnumerable, a collection of iWaffle creation service, and then we'd be like, here, have them all, okay? So that gives you a lot of flexibility. If you're using strategy pattern or something like that, you could have all your different strategies there and then get them as an IEnumerable. I'm going to cough now, okay? Okay. And Waffle Ingredient Service has a dependency on that pesky HTTP client. So what we're going to do is go builder.services.add HTTP client. Yay, I'm just going to do that one, just the generic one. Now what that's doing is going to use the HTTP client factory, okay? It will manage the lifetime of your clients, okay? It will dispose of them, it will reuse them, and now you don't have to worry about them. You're not going to get the socket exhaustion. Everything will just be taken care of. So do that. Don't do usings and all of this and dispose. Don't handle it yourself, unless for some reason you have to. Just use that, the HTTP client factory. And I'll show you some other things that you can do with that also. All right. So now we've got our dependencies. I'm pretty sure that this should just work, should. Famous last words. Let's just go and check. We ignore all the errors and not the errors, the warnings. They don't mean anything. I'm not worried about warnings. Why can't that be? Why is this not reachable? It was reachable earlier. I tested it. You see, this is it. That noise was a precursor. What are you telling me in here? Wait. Breakpoint, yay, thank you. Oh my goodness. Okay, now I have to press the right button to continue. There we go. Eagle eyes in the audience. Hurrah. I love it when you're pair programming with me. Hurrah, there we go. Okay, so let's see if my DI worked. We're going to try it out. Execute. Yes, it has. We've gone to our ingredient service and we've got some nice waffle ingredients. Don't worry about the binding on that. It's horrible. It's immaterial. Okay, so we can see that we've successfully got our DI working. But remember how I said when you start adding loads of things to your program file, it's going to get unwieldy. So let's address that next. I want to get all of these dependencies out of here, and we're going to write an extension method to do that. So this, remember I said I started to look at patterns we could use to make this more manageable and more enjoyable to use. So if we come over here, I've got some files ready, and I've got this fantastically named add dependencies. I suggest you use whatever naming convention suits you, and you can group them, but this is it for now. Now, you may notice I have a partial here. You may be deeply opposed to partial. That's okay. You don't have to have a partial service collection extension. That's my methodology, okay? I like to name my file the name of the extension method, and then I like to put them all in a partial class of service collection extensions. That's my preference. You could name this whatever you want and not have it as a partial as long as it's static, okay? So let's go and add that extension method. So we're going to have a public static. Now this needs to be an iService collection. Thank you, IntelliSense. And this one is going to be our add dependencies. Okay. And then, no, not square brackets. No, why did you give me square brackets? All right, so we've got that. And now in here, we need to put a keyword. And my brain has gone blank. This, thank you. Oh my goodness. I don't know if it's the heat in here, and I'm like, there's a keyword that I need to use, and it's this. Thank you. Okay, so this, we have our service collections, services, and then we're going to go and return services. Okay, so now we've got our extension method ready. We can come over to our program, and what I'm going to do is just get rid of that, and I'm going to paste that there. Okay, so now we've got that, but it's empty, so let's go and sort that out. We've got that, and we're going to come over here, and we can just paste those, and just sort those out. And then we can add our HTTP client. Okay, so let's go. So we've already instantly tidied that up, and you can start encapsulating this more. Okay, you could have this top-level add dependencies, and then below here you could have a whole load of private methods where you add things in different named spaces, in different named methods, and then you could add all of those methods in here, and then you're keeping it nice and tidy so that you can keep building on this architecture and learning what works for you, okay? Now, we can also do that for like databases. I've got that in a separate one here. So I've got my DB context. Oh, go away. And you can see I'm passing in my, I'm using SQL Server, so I've passed that in. And you'll notice here that I can also pass other information through to these extension methods. So in this case, I'm going to need that configuration. So you can start adding that. And then if we go look at our program, you can see I just passed that builder.configuration through. So you can start writing lots of your own extension methods here and encapsulating all of your code and keeping this really readable. So if I go through and read this and go, oh, that's adding my dependencies, that's adding my databases. So it makes it really readable and maintainable. Really paranoid about that now. Okay, so that instantly sold this to me that, oh, I can go and tidy it up with extension methods. Okay, so let's go and have a closer look at what else we can do with our HTTP client. Actually, no, we're going to have a look at this one first, because I think there's some important things just to cover with life cycles still and adding dependencies. Now, the idea behind this, and this was because all of my teammates are Java Spring developers, every single one of them, not one does .NET. And I had to co-present with a Spring advocate, and I was doing half .NET, and he was doing Java, and we were swapping between it for this presentation. And he was like, well, how do you add like private dependencies? And I was like, I don't know. So we started to think about this, and he sort of tried to explain to me why he had these. But the idea is that if you add something to your IOC container, it's sort of globally available. And I'd love to know how you all deal with that as well, if there's something that you don't want everything to have access to. So this was my workaround. Oh. So I have this marketing private dependency. I don't want to add that to the IOC container. I just want that only available here. So you could say, well, why am I injecting it? But let's just say I am. All right, let's assume I need to. Okay, so I have my marketing private dependency, and my marketing endpoint service has a dependency on that, okay? And my marketing endpoints service needs to be available to the entire application, okay? So I go and create this, and then I add the dependency, and then I add that in here. Now, there's something really wrong about this. Imagine marketing endpoints. Sounds like it's going to need a dependency on an HTTP client, perhaps, yeah? So at the moment, the way I've added this, just by adding the already instantiated object, My IOC container has no awareness of the life cycle of my marketing endpoints object, okay? It won't dispose of it. It won't do anything for me. So in this instance, I would manually have to go and manage that life cycle, okay? So this is where you could run into trouble. So I'll show you how to fix it, but I do just have to call out my good friend Steve Collins. He's got a fantastic blog series on this, so stevetalkscode.co.uk. He's an amazing individual, and he's written an amazing blog series on this, so I highly recommend reading it. But I will show you how we can fix it. So rather than having it like so, what we're going to do is we're going to call it in the context like this. So now we're adding it, and we're going to create it within the context of our service provider, so it will then know how to do it. So we're just going to go new marketing endpoints, and we're going to pass in PMD. Okay, so just by changing the code to be that way, our IOC is now managing that life cycle for us, okay? So we don't have to worry about it. It will call dispose for us when necessary, and again, it's all sorted for you. So just using these little things just to make your application more resilient and better is really helpful, okay? So that was that one. And now, let's go and look a little bit closer at HTTP Client Factory. God, I'm zipping through this today. It's because you're all pair programming with me, isn't it? It's like, oh, okay. So I think we are actually going to have time for our life cycle. So let's have a quick look at that now. Just so I want to make sure that everybody understands the scope, transient, and singleton life cycles, okay? And it's nothing like seeing it in action. So down here, I have builder.services.add lifecycles. And if we go look at, not that one, this one, it's pretty straightforward. It goes and creates 3 random numbers and adds it to a list, and then returns that list, okay? And what I then have in the place where I add it, in add life cycles, we're going to have a look at each one. So the first one we're going to add as a singleton. So I want you just to have a think about what you're going to expect to see when I call this minimal API down here. So you can see I've got 2 requests for life cycles. So I'm going to then just print them to screen. Okay, so we're going to ask for that list from each injectable here. Okay, so let's go and run that. Okay, what do you think you're going to see with our list of 3 random numbers? The same as that? I think you'll be right. So you can see 054. If I request it again, 054. I can keep requesting it all day long, and it will just give me the same on both sides. Okay, yeah. And we'll go this way, and I'm going to stop that again. And we're going to where is it? Add life cycles. All right, so now let's have a look at scoped. Run it again. Okay. What do you think you're going to see on this one? Different. Okay, what else have we got? A different over here. What have we got? Any other answers? Same every time? Same both lists? Okay. All right, so same both lists. Let's do it again. So we've got 1, 3, 2. There we go, 069. So you can see that was scoped. It creates that instance for the whole of the request. Here's our request. We ask for an instance twice. We get the same instance, okay? So now if we just do the last one, I think this one you're all going to get now, aren't you? You can see where this is going. Let's stop. rerun it. Okay. There's no prizes for guessing this one, though, okay? Let's see. So what do we think? Different every time? Both lists different? Yeah? Good. All right, so there you can see, both lists different every time. So every time we ask for an instance, we're going to get a new instance. Whoa! that was quite the unveil, wasn't it? Dun, dun, dun. I couldn't have planned that if I tried. The demigods are with me today. Woohoo! Alrighty. So let's move on. So hopefully, that's your understanding of it, but we've just reconfirmed that. I think it's always nice just to see it properly in action, to go, yes, that's how I thought it worked, okay? So let's go and close these off. All right, so let's go and go back to our dependencies file here. We can do better, okay? So we have our waffle creation service. That has the dependency on waffle ingredients service. Let's have a quick look at the waffle ingredients service, okay? So we can see that has a dependency on HTTP client. Fine, fair enough. We're making an external HTTP call to this function here. So let's go and make these better. So I'm actually going to take them out of my dependencies, and we're going to look in this client and policies. All right, I'm just going to drop them in here for now. So we have this generic add HTTP client here, okay? And so you can see we have that. But there's other things that we can do with our HTTP client factory. We can have named, and we can have strongly typed. So let's go and see what that would look like. So if we wanted a strongly typed one, services, I have this big block about typing services in code. So we're going to add an HTTP client. And this time, I'm going to give it a name. Let's go NDC. And then in here, we can have an expression. That was a really bad expression. There we go. Okay, and we can have that on the end. Is that not? No, it's not an expression. Oh, yes, we don't want that. We want client. Okay, there we go. So now we've got our client. We can start doing all the things that you might do in your constructor. So when you inject your HTTP client, what kind of thing might you do? Client dot base address equals new URI, and then I don't know, HTTP something, Okay, we can have that. Semicolon. We can go and put in headers. We can do whatever we need, okay? And the beauty of this is that we're setting it up once. And then when I want to go and use that, what did I just do? Oh my God, I can see flickering. Are we still there? Okay, hopefully we're there. All right, so when I want to go and use that, I can inject my HTTP client and get HTTP client factory, and then go and get that named instance in my controller, okay? So you can start doing that, and then you can reuse that rather than having all of that code in your constructor. Now, say you wanted to change that base URI, okay, for that base address for this particular HTTP client. NDC has changed. It's now not in Copenhagen anymore. It's now in Porto, so we're going to change that base address. If I had created all of those base addresses in all of my controller instances, I'd have to go and fight through all of those. Here, it's centralized. It's just update in one place, which is, really, really useful. Okay. There are some other uses of this as well. Is this going to tell me if I go? Okay. So there's a big difference between these two. Okay. If I hover over this one, do you see that this is iService collection, okay? And if I come down to this one, it's extending iHTTP client builder. Okay, and that gives us a whole host of new options, which we're going to explore in a minute. So there's another reason for having named or strongly typed. Just to show you what a strongly typed one looks like, let's do this. Ta-da! Strongly typed. Okay, just done like that. So this now is the named, because you see we've just given it a stringy name, and now this is a strongly typed HTTP client. And the beauty of that is now we have these additional methods that we can add policies to our application with, okay? So I've got some lined up here. Now, I like to use Poly. I recommend that you use Poly. You can use Poly straight up for any problematic method call in your application. Okay, we're only going to look at HTTP here. Guess what? I have a video on Poly that you can go and watch that will show you how to put it on any method. So things that you might want to put policies around are going to be things like database calls, anything where you might have a failure, anything where you're calling outside your application, or if you've got some really flaky code and you're like, this is really problematic, you can start wrapping it in policies, and this is instantly going to make your application more resilient. So if we go here, let's go and have a look at Poly project. I'm just going to shove .NET in there. The Poly project. Now I'm going to go to the GitHub one because they have this amazing chart down here. It is here, isn't it? Is it here? Yes. Okay. I'm going to make that bigger. I love this chart. And the reason why I love this chart is this AKA. Document writers, put AKAs in your documents, okay? It's so great. So we can see that retry. Well, maybe it's just a blip. Doesn't that cement it in your head a little bit more? Circuit breaker. Stop doing if it hurts, okay, and give the system a break. We're going to look at a circuit breaker. I'm going to explain that in more detail. So the Poly project, as I say, you can use it on its own. Or we have an extension library, a NuGet package from Microsoft. I think it actually comes in with .NET, but you can use it, and it's extending that iHTTP client builder. So it means that we can start tacking it on, and it wraps it nicely for you. So that's what we're going to have a quick look at. But let me just go and explain what a circuit breaker is. Okay, I'm going to get up my nice picture. All right, so let's say we have service A talking to service B. I'm going to do it the other way around so it's right for you. Service A talking to service B. So service A is sending requests across to service B. This is B. All right? And A just keeps sending those requests over, and B is going, oh, hang on a minute, whoa, I can't cope, and it's starting to get overloaded, and it's just like, no, I can't deal with this, no, I'm out of here, okay? What happens then? Service A keeps sending it, it's not getting a response, everything's falling apart, okay? If we put a circuit breaker in, we have it comes from the electrical circuits, so it's that same principle. A closed circuit is good, all right? We're closed. We've closed the loop. We've got those request response going across to service B. Now, when service B is having its little wobbly, we're going to pop open the circuit breaker, okay? So now the circuit is open, and we have something called the failure threshold, okay? You can set that. So let's just say that was 3. If it got 3 dud responses from that, or no responses, whatever you set it up to listen for, we're going to open that circuit, and then you can set a time delay. Let's just say we're going to wait 10 seconds to see if service B gets its act together. And then what we do is half open. You don't want to just kick up because service B may not be on its feet again. So you send one request. That's called the half open state, okay? So you send one across. If that is successful, we close the circuit, continue as normal. If it isn't successful, that is grinding and some. the dreaded earrings. I was warned about this. Okay. Oh my God. 1 second. It's just... I can't take them all out. I don't know why it's moved. Okay. I flung one over here. I'm just going to keep my head really still. Okay, so where was I? We've got that closed and everything's passing through. Okay, so let's go and have a look at how we can put that into action. Actually, I'm going to show you this really terrifying diagram. Now, remember I said earlier that configuration needed to be in a certain order? Guess what? Policies do too, okay? Isn't that the most divine diagram you've ever seen? Yeah? Okay, this tells you how your request goes through all the policy middleware, okay? So let's just zoom in a little bit on here. So it's really important. If you think about this as each one is wrapped in like a try-catch, this is going to be your try-catch thing, okay? But we've got extension methods that can handle that for us. So we have our calling code. It's going to go through fallback. This is all the different things that policy has. So let's just say it's going to go fallback, wait and retry, and then circuit breaker, and then executed delegate. That's the way we're looking at it, because we're not going to look at the other things, okay? And then it comes right back up through it. So you have to get these in the right order. So just wanted to put that there. Okay, so where's my code? It's back this way. Let's go and take a look. So you can see we've got these things in here. So this one and this one, we can add these policies to, not the generic HTTP client. I know it's not a generic, but I mean generic in the non-coding sense, okay? So let's go and have a look. I've written some of these before because no one needs to see me painfully write these out. And if we, all right, I haven't got a fallback in here. The retry is keep trying, okay? However many times I state, go and try again. Fallback would be everything has failed, do this instead. So that's why we saw it at the very start or the very end of our request. So our request, our retry policy is going to be, if I get my HTTP response message, and on that message, I do not have a success status code, or I don't have, or I have the result not found, okay, wait and retry. So we're going to try it 3 times, and then the time is going to be, each time it's just going to wait a little bit longer. So it's going to be 10 seconds, 20 seconds, 40 seconds, so on and so forth, okay? So you can define all of this, and there's a few other things that you can do, but this is a basic implementation. So that's the first thing that's going to happen when we get a failure, okay? It's going to wait and retry 3 times. Now, if it fails 3 times, we're going to hit our circuit breaker because that is wrapping our retry policy, okay? And this one here is going to handle a result. Status code, that's flickering again, isn't it? Internal server error. So we're going to have a 500 there. It's going to do 3 things. That's our threshold, failure threshold. Handled events allowed before breaking is 3. And then we're going to have a from minutes. Let's just whack that down a little bit. We're not going to hang around for that. Let's have 10 seconds. Okay. And then I've got some little methods down here just to print some stuff. So you could have this writing to your logs. This is a perfect place to write to your logs. I've just got it going to a console.write line because, you know, it's a demo. But this is where you could start to handle those and get, oh, hang on, there's a problem going on, and start logging it and dealing with it, okay? So how do we add these? Well, I commented this one out. Now we have this nice wrap thing. Let's do that first. Control KC. All right, so we can wrap it. You can see I've got policy wrap async, and you can see I put them in, and it's going to wrap them for me. All right, and then we can add them to our policy handler all in one go. Okay, and now you can see we've added that to our strongly typed HTTP client. Right, that's ready to use. What I am going to do is, well, actually, let's just go with it. I have built-in peskiness in this API. So you can see here, on a random occasion, this is going to throw a 500, okay, as its status code. So that's what's going to happen. And then I can actually, if I remember how to be clever with this, I can bring yes, like that. So we should, here's our API, and then if we come over here, I'm going to make sure that I've added this to the program. Haha, none of you caught that, did you? Dun, dun, dun. I'm sure you would have told me once it all failed and it wasn't working. So let's go and add this to our program. So we've got, have I already written it? No. So we're going to add builder.services, add clients and policies. So now it's available. Otherwise we would have gone, I don't have that. What are you talking about? And let's go ahead and run. All right, so you can see here, I'm going to just, can I squidge that along a little bit? Yes. Okay, so let's go and try this. We're expecting to see some failures. Okay, well, that was straight away a good one. Error. Okay, so now you can see it's waiting, and it retried. Okay, so you can see it retried once, and it went through. Let's have another go. Okay, it's good. It's going to be all good, isn't it? Be pesky. Random numbers. Don't fail me. We've got an error, so you can see, oh my goodness, come on, give me several errors in a row. Okay, so we've got 2. Come on. See, it's waiting longer. Now it's going to wait even longer. Dun, 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 dun. Yes. All right, so now you can see we hit circuit breaker, broken circuit exception, okay? Our circuit has opened, all right? Now, if I time that, I didn't do it quick enough, okay? I would have got 10, no, maybe I did. Okay, if I wait 10 seconds, it will allow me to do that. Right now, if that circuit is open, it's not even going to let me try, okay? It's just going to say, hey, I'm open, not doing anything. And now if we go over here, I think we should have had some messages printed somewhere. I would have thought they'd be in here. Maybe not. I don't use Rider enough because I work on a PC at home. Maybe, no. I never can remember where. Oh, here it is. Okay. Was that in here? I would expect to have seen somewhere those things that I put in here. The circuit breaker is open. But, however, that should be running again. All is good. You see, now the circuit closed, everything's running again. So this can really start to manage potential issues in your code without them bubbling up to your end user. So they're not going to get like a flop of an application. You can be like, oh, I know that there's a potential problem with this particular service. I'm going to handle it. So therefore, everything is more resilient. You put in these code bits in place to manage potential issues so that your end user isn't even aware of it, okay? So that's key to resilient apps. And we have all of those tools more or less in our basic web application here. Sorry, losing my voice now. Okay, so we can see that we can have that, and we can start to do different policies per HTTP client. We can start really itemizing this, and you can really get control over how you handle these known potential issues. Obviously, the unknown, you can't always write a handler for that or deal with that. They are the exceptional exceptions. But if you know that, well, this API I'm calling is outside of my control, maybe their servers will go down, maybe they get hacked. It's outside your control. You need to put those resilient methods into your code to handle that potential issue, okay? So you can do that pretty easily without having to go and do too much. There's some great articles out there. As I say, I have a video on it that covers it. And just by adding a few little things to your code, you can instantly make it more resilient. Okay, so if we come back, the last thing I want to show you is we don't just write extension methods for our dependencies. We can start to write extension methods to shove all of our minimal APIs in, okay? So we can actually extend the web application. You can see this is our app. And I've done that somewhere. Add APIs. Okay, so you can see here I've got web application extensions. This one isn't partial because it's the only place I do it. And you can start to group all of your minimal APIs into logical collections. Okay, so maybe you have all of a certain type. So maybe they're all I don't know, your ordering ones can all go in one extension, and all your admin ones can go in another extension. So you can still group them, and you're not going down the way of having your heavyweight controller. So let's just go and grab this little bit down here. Try and keep my head still. It's only because the tech told me my earrings were going to bang on this mic, and I've never had this problem before. So it jinxed me. Okay, so now we can stick that in here. No, we can't, because I haven't written it yet. So we can go public static, and then we need a web application. Okay, and this one's going to be add APIs. And then I remember the word now, thank you, this web application. And then we're going to go app, and then down here, and then now I can drop those in. Okay, and why are you unhappy down here? What's your problem? What have I done? Thank you, return. Wait, what? Oh, thank you, return. I was thinking that return. I'm like, what's going on with the return app, the basics, huh? Okay, so we've got that. And then with our minimal APIs, we've got a lot of different things. We've got app.map put, and we can go and do that. And a last quick thing is, just so you know, let's just give that name, whatever it is. And then our expression, you know, we had the body from services up here. Well, this is going to be, sorry, not put, let's make that a post. I'm going to post something from this. So we can go, we can tell it that. We can have a from body, and let's just call that order. Okay, and then we can give that order. So we can pass that in. Is that in here? Yes, okay. But we can also say have our services in there. So we can still add our services and drop that in. So we can still do all of our dependency injection and still get something from our post, the body. So this post will then expect a body in, and then we can go and do whatever we want with that body, okay? So we are at time. That was a pretty whirlwind whip round of all the things I wanted to show you. And the only thing I missed was global usings, which came in .NET 6. So you can add any C# file name, whatever you want to call it. Global usings is generally what I like to call it. Let's just go class. I'll just call it GU. We collect all of, no, go away. Delete all of that. And then just to make something global, you go global, and then we can go and grab something from program, something that we'll use a lot. Let's just say system.json. We'll probably use that a lot, so I can take that out, and we can drop that in there. Done. Now that's available globally. We don't need to put it in there. And that's it. Thank you very much, and I appreciate your time. Oh, I'm off. I didn't see very many green next to huge stacks of yellow and red. So if you run out of greens, I don't know. You know, there's a lot of you in here. Thank you for coming. But yeah, there wasn't enough greens compared to yellows and reds. So don't just pick whatever's left over, okay? And if you have questions, I'm going to be around. You can come and find me. But thank you very much.